Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Thornburg, and on July 28th, 2025, the American Academy of Pediatrics published a new policy statement, and this is regarding the coercion of medical power and the reduction in parental rights. What I'm specifically referring to is that the American Academy of Pediatrics wants to eliminate nationwide a parent's right to obtain a philosophical or a religious exemption for their child. This is the new face of pediatric power, where they want to force compliance through policy, through law. It is a very poor direction to take medical care. It's almost like they're doubling down, especially as we learn more and more that there is an inadequate safety profile to the vaccines that we have been administering. And we are on the verge of having the vaccine safety data link opened for public scrutiny and to find out how accurate the CDC has been portraying the safety profile of vaccines. Additionally, if you have watched my channel, I have raised numerous times concerns about the safety, or most of the time, the quality of the research that was performed. Just go back and watch some of those studies. Even more disturbing is that this is a quiet erosion of parental rights. Just call it coercion in white coats. I think that's going to be the title of this lecture. So I made 7 arguments against eliminating non-medical vaccine exemptions. And the first is public health is not a one-size-fits-all. We know that there's biological diversity. We know across a population there's a bell-shaped curve. We know that we can't plug and play human life. We can't take a medicine, plug it into a human, and expect the same outcome. There's too much diversity. There's too much variability with genetics and epigenetics. Second, protecting the herd often means that we're going to hurt other individuals. Protecting the herd is the concept that those who can take a vaccine should take the vaccine as an ethical obligation to those who cannot receive a vaccine for whatever reason. But in forcing or protecting of the herd, then we are taking other individuals who are not so overtly identified as being vulnerable. These are the people who might have a mitochondrial dysfunction. And we know in the vaccine court, if a child has a mitochondrial dysfunction, the court has awarded vaccine injury money to a family. But we don't know who those patients are. By protecting the herd, we're turning one vulnerable group into another vulnerable group. Third, the narrative really ignores real vaccine failures and mismanagement. You can go back and watch my channel and you will see how the MMR vaccine data had been manipulated so we, the public, would not know that that vaccine, if the safety period is extended and we also look at the timing of the vaccine, that the MMR vaccine can cause autism in African American males. I think a lot more study needs to be done if the CDC is finding it necessary to scrub data before publishing. Mandates are a cover for bad science and worse policy. That, I think, it goes without really much explanation. If a medical body says that I have to force you to take this, then there's some serious problems with your reasoning. I don't need to spend much time on this one. Religious and philosophical freedoms are core to democracy. This might be one of the biggest points that I want to highlight. Obviously, if we have the government telling us that we have to do something, that is no longer freedom, especially if there is an unknown safety, long-term safety profile, especially if those who are in charge and pushing this mandate have, over the last 17 years, done a disastrous job in keeping our children healthy. 1/3 of all children now have metabolic disease. 1/3 of all children are pre-diabetic. On 170 plus markers in childhood health, the U.S. has failed compared to the rest of the industrialized countries. This is in a recent Journal of the American Medical Association publication, which I believe came out just in the past month. You can go back and see my video on this. And then my last point is that when you have to mandate something, that it's really the last stand of a failed policy. I kind of alluded this in my other point. But again, if the leadership at the American Academy of Pediatrics believes that a parent doesn't have a right to acknowledge that there might be biodiversity, if a parent doesn't have a right to say that they might have spiritual convictions that are counter to public policy, if they don't have a right to acknowledge that different people heal differently, then this is a failed policy because now they just have to force you to do it. This almost reminds me of communist China forcing certain social policies on their population. If you want to call that science, go ahead, but I call it bullying. Thanks.